back working on my son's Honda GX200 swapped Chinese Kandi Kart go-kart. So in the last video, you saw that we took the Amazon Chikuni, which is a Chinese knockoff Mikuni, and we drilled the jet up from the stock size to, I believe it was a 100. So I got the adapter on and everything. Do make sure when you put the adapter on that you are putting it on the right way, because it can go 180 out, and even though it will still work, it will cause a little restriction. Also, it does have these little slots on it, so when you do put it on, you want to make sure that the carburetor is as level as possible, and with the adjustments pretty much maxed out, it will be sitting level, because as you can see, the port on the carburetor itself is not level at all. So you do want to make sure that your carburetor is level when you put it on, so that the float will work as it should. So the trick that I've done is that I will take an Allen wrench and I will cut it down shorter. That way it actually fits in between the space, and you can tighten it, because most Allen wrenches are going to be too long. And like I said, take your shortened Allen head, Allen's key, and then tighten it down. And then next we're going to hook up the throttle cable, add some gas, and maybe I'll hop in it and take it for a rip, take a chip. So now it's time for the throttle cable. So when you take off this top part, you want to hold on to it, because it does have a spring in it, as you can see. So take the spring out, set it somewhere safe. This gasket actually goes on top of the cap, so just kind of put it back there and let it chill out. Next, you want to take something, reach inside and grab the needle. And so with this needle, it can go in the right way and the wrong way. Well, on all of these, it will have a thin slot, and then it will have a thicker, shorter slot. The thicker, shorter slot is what controls your idle. So basically the idle screw that goes in is tapered, so as you push it in, it will slide this up slightly to give it more gas. So wherever your idle adjustment screw is, which in this case is going to be towards the front, is where the thicker slot needs to be. Now, you can indeed install it backwards. See, it drops in. But the thing with it dropping in is that it does not drop all the way down. So it goes in, but the needle is not seated all the way down to the carburetor. So if you do indeed install it backwards and you go to start it up, it's going to be wide open, full throttle, full gas. So if I was to install it this way, start it up, and if the wheels are on the ground, it's going to rev up high enough for everything to engage, and it is going to take off. That's why anytime you do any sort of carb work or anything, the first startup, you want to make sure that the wheels are off the ground to prevent runaways. So always remember, wherever your idle adjustment screw is, which in this case is going to be towards the front of the motor, which is going to be probably most cases, you want to make sure that the thick slot is facing the front, and you also want to make sure that it drops all the way down into the carb. So with all that being said, you want to take your throttle cable end, you want to put it through the cap. So step one is to get it through the cap, and make sure that the end is all the way seated. Make sure your gasket is in there. Then you want to take your spring, insert it through, and then you want to compress the spring, and you want to take the eyelet, and on the long slot At the bottom of the long slot, there's a little hole there, and just so happen the end matches up with the hole. You take the spring, seat it like so, make sure everything is looking good, make sure your gasket is where it should be, and then you make sure that the wide slot, in this case, is going to be towards the front where the idle screw is. The long slot is going to be towards, on this case, the choke. And then you slide it down, make sure your gasket is in place, and then you force the spring down, and then you tighten it up. Don't cross thread it. These cheap castings aren't worth 2 wet farts sometimes. So then I'm going to press the gas, then I should hear it go up and down. I feel it going up and down, and the spring in the car is returning it. So that should be good to go. So from here, I'm going to install my fuel line. And we're going to add some gas, jack this back up, put it on blocks or something. And this motor hasn't ran in about a year, so let's see if it'll run. It's a Honda, so of course it's going to run. So kill switch is off, so it should fire. Let's see if she runs and he runs and how good. Pull a choke up. Yes. All right. I wonder if the idle is too low. Bump up the idle a little bit. All right. Turn the idle a little bit more. All right, a little bit more on the idle. I think this idle screw was all the way out. And that's why when you do the first start, you have the tires off the ground, because it engaged, it's about to take off. So it's running pretty good. Alright, so I'm going to let it idle for a little bit, and then I'm going to floor it and see if the jet is about right. It's not going to be too rich, didn't think it'd be too lean, so I'm going to let it warm up for a little bit before we can start stabbing on it, and we'll see how it runs full throttle with no load. But yeah, she's running good. She is running good. Old power washer motor, purring right on along. I do want to see if it'll start back up, because it did not want to start the first time. So I guess the idle is too low. Oh. All right, that's better. All right, so let's give it a stab and let's see if it cuts out. 100 jet might be a little too small, but we'll see. Oh, is my torque converter belt? That probably ain't good. All right, let's see. All right, that might be kind of close. Yeah, the 100 jet seemed to do just fine, actually. It might be all right with that 100 jet. It might be all right with that 100 jet. It's blowing up just fine. So yeah, let's go on a ride. Now, I only got one front brake. The back brake is not working, but I do got the e-brake. So let's go on a ride and let's see how it runs. Oh yeah, that one brake ain't doing a thing. So I think it's a little lean. I think it might need to go a little bigger on the jet. So it's definitely a little lean. Seems like it needs more gas, so I might take it up to about a 110, and that'll be it. So if you need to get a carburetor and adapter and rejet it, everything will be in the description below. But until then, this will be fine for my 9-year-old and my 5-year-old. So always remember, think, build, enjoy. Peace. I need some brakes. I need some brakes. Woo! That thing needs some brakes. Because, man, my leg is tired.